Hey everybody, it's Chris from Chris Beat Cancer, and today I'm interviewing Suzan Macco, registered nurse, diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, who has a miraculous, wonderful, inspirational healing story to share with you. And some of you who have been longtime followers of the blog might remember she shared her story, she wrote her story, and submitted it as a guest post on the site. And so it's been on the site for a couple of years, but now I finally got the chance to interview her in person, and I'm so excited to actually dig in with her and get some details about what she did and share it with you. So, hi, Susan.
Hi, how are you, Chris?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. I'm great. I'm great. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Well, you look fantastic, and
Yes.
tell me where you are.
I am in Green Bay, Wisconsin. That's where my office is. I live in a little town just south of Green Bay called De Pere, Wisconsin. And my office is right on Main Street in Green Bay. So that's where I am right now. And they're doing construction. They're tearing a building down across the street from my office, and too noisy. So that's why we're in this room here. So
Well, yeah, if we hear any wrecking balls,
I know.
if you hear
I
any
hope.
wrecking balls, that's what's happening.
Yeah, I
So
know.
let's tell your cancer story, because I know it's just an awesome one.
Yeah, well, and everybody knows that in 2007 was the first time, and at that point in time, I decided to go to Mexico, and just to give a little background, but I don't want to rehash all that because a lot has changed since then, and I was okay for 7 years, and
Yeah.
then
No,
the
but
eighth.
go ahead and tell the story, because a lot of people haven't heard it.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I actually had gone to 3 or 4 different places. I was at Green Bay Cancer Center. I went to Mayo. I went to Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and then I had an interview with Seattle Cancer Center.
So you got
And
multiple opinions.
yes, and they all do the same thing. And I was like, I just can't do that.
What did they do? I mean, what did they tell you?
It's like cookie cutter treatment. You meet with the oncologist. They recommend, first they recommend surgery, and then after surgery, chemo, radiation, and then you end up in the office of the plastic surgeon. And I ended up there at Mayo, and I said, why am I in this room? And they just assume that you're going to do it all. And I said, look, I never said I wanted this. And we actually left and came home. And then
And the plastic surgeon was breast reconstruction, right?
yes,
Right. And what stage were you?
stage 2.
Got it. What about,
Eh,
were you estrogen positive, negative, or what were your other?
I was ERPR positive
Got it.
and HER2 negative. So the last day that we were at Mayo, I actually had a phone consult with one of the doctors at Sonoviv, and that's where I ended up going for my treatment because they look at the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
Physical, emotional, structural, nutritional, and psychological. I don't know if I said that, but they do it all, and that was a better fit for me. And so I went there, and I was there for 3 weeks. I wasn't planning on having any surgery or anything, but I ended up doing that. I had a lumpectomy, and I came back home
Did you have it
thinking,
while you were there?
yes. And well, I saw people having surgery there, and I'm like, holy, what are they doing with these people that they can get out of surgery and come to breakfast the next morning? And I was amazed at how they take care of these people post-operatively. So I decided to have the lumpectomy there.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, I'll just come home and do whatever I need to do once I get home. So I
What were some
had
of the treatments they did there?
at Sonoviv.
Yeah.
We had IV vitamin C, IV alpha lipoic acid, glutathione, detox treatments, hyperthermia. The food is all detox. They do specific therapies, different massage therapies, and they have Rife therapy. I don't know if you've heard of that. I'm sure you have. They have OnDemand, all kinds of unique therapies there. And, you meet with people who can help you with the emotional baggage, which is a big deal, it seems like now.
Oh, yeah. Huge. Huge.
So I just thought it was a more well-rounded program. And I really appreciated the opportunity to go there. I know not everybody can do that. So I'm sure you've heard people say that they wiped out their savings or did whatever they had to do to get their treatment. But, we had to do the same thing. So I just am really thankful that I was able to do that. The second time was in 2015. And my family had a big issue with treatment of my mom who had dementia. And it just didn't go very well. We couldn't agree on things. And so that whole year in 2014, 2015, we were dealing with that as a family. And the same day that all came to a head, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So.
And how did you find out? So you had a really stressful year dealing with your mom and family members.
Yeah.
And then how did you find out you had stage 4?
It's kind of interesting how it happened. The scar from my surgery in 2007 started bleeding, and that's what brought me to the doctor. And I wasn't expecting them to say, we think your cancer's back. And that's what happened.
That's really strange because it was 7 years later and the scar started bleeding?
Yes.
Wow.
I know. It's like, okay, that was my sign. But you just never know how cancer is going to rear its ugly head. And I really do pay attention now to the emotional component of healing, especially with my clients. They don't know they have emotional baggage. So we spend a lot of time talking about that.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting, I'm sitting in the doctor's office and I liked this doctor. So it's not like, she was like the rest that I've dealt with in the past. But it's kind of funny how they can just come out with this statement. She says, well, you have stage 4 cancer. We know what's going to kill you now. We can't cure you, but we can keep you comfortable. And I almost laughed. I mean, I'm like, you're going to keep me comfortable?
We've got some really nice lazy boys you can sit in, and you'll be really comfortable.
And I was like, I'm going to keep myself comfortable. I'm going to do my own thing. And I thought, I'm going to show you. And I just, on the way home, I said to my husband, I can start to heal now because the situation with my mom was all finished. And I thought, you know what? It's my time. It's my time to heal. And I just did everything I could. I went to...
Before we talk about what you did next, I think it's really great that you had that defiant attitude toward the death sentence.
Yes.
And that's so important because, when a patient is sitting across from the doctor and the doctor says, you're going to die, right? There's only two reactions, right? There's only two sort of ways you can process that mentally.
Right.
One is you believe it, right? And it becomes a hex, like a curse on you.
Yeah.
Or you reject it, right? You say, no, that's not going to be my story. You're not going to put an expiration date on my life. Like, I'm going to fight to live.
Yes.
And so I just wanted to accent that point you made because it's just, that is such a critical moment, I think, in your story and in so many other people's stories, and they don't realize like how critical those conversations are and the way you let yourself process news like that.
Right. You have to maintain a certain amount of composure. And some of this I knew I mean, unfortunately or fortunately from the previous experience. And I just know that you can't go down that road. I just said to myself when she told me that, I was like, I do not receive that. And even looking at the scan, I mean, she showed me the scan and I looked at my husband and I was like, wow, I don't know if I can fight that.
Where was
But
it?
I'm sorry?
Where was it on the scan? Like, where did you, where were
Well,
you?
it was, it was a lot. It was in the breast. It was on my spine. It was in my lymph and it was in my lungs.
Got it.
And I could tell there was something going on with my lungs because I was winded, walking upstairs. And I saw, there's something going on. And I just was, I don't know, I must have my dad's personality or something that won't let me accept the status quo. I just did not listen to her and did my own thing. So
You made that decision, right? I'm gonna get well.
Mm-hmm.
I need to take care of myself. And so,
Yeah.
what did you do? What were the first things you did? And just curious, did you, after being treated at Genevieve, did you come home and do a lot of sort of hardcore, intensive, natural stuff, health and
Mm-hmm.
healing stuff for a time? And then did you kind of maybe go back to your old routine after a few years? Or what was that progress like between the first, sort of holistic treatment and then stage 4?
Right. We did a lot in juicing. We do all the juicing, and there's certain supplements that I never quit taking, and I guess I was okay for 6 years, Chris. I mean, I didn't have the stress. It was that last year, and I really have to be honest. I just didn't know how to. I didn't know how to take care of myself, and it was difficult. And I see a lot of cancer clients now, and I know that feeling. I honestly know how you get to a certain point and it's like, just take care of me. I can't do it, and that's the point I was at. And, finally, after the doctor said that, and I think she needed to say that so it would like snap me out of it, say, you know what? No, you're not going to write my story. So it was a real eye opener. And it was like the fight of my life, really. So
what happened next?
So I actually, I'm a digestive health specialist and I do enzyme therapy. So I'm sure you're aware of what enzymes do for cancer. And so that's my specialty. So I actually contacted one of my colleagues and went to see him. And he put me on a program. And literally, it was a kick butt program, Chris. I mean, this is not for the faint of heart. I had one of those Sunday through Saturday containers for, your pill boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go through a complete whole case every day. And I just take a lot of stuff.
And talk about what you took.
So the enzyme program, I was on like 4 different enzymes. And they all have a purpose, and I don't know if you want me to get into all that, but,
yeah.
We do have a program for cancer. We have the enzyme to open up the cell wall. We have the enzyme to oxygenate the cell, and we have the enzyme that fights inflammation. And then we also have the enzyme that there's multiples of different kinds, and we just have to figure out which is right for me or which is right for that person. So the last one is to fight lymphatic stasis, which a lot of cancer clients have. A lot of the waste that accumulates in your body goes through the lymph, and you got to get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was on those enzymes and some things that I was on previously, like IP6. Yep. I was on protective breast formula. What I added this time was colostrum. I had not ever known about it. And it's kind of funny how these things cross my path. And I actually had it on my shelf because a friend was working with me, and she had her inventory here, and she was a colon hydrotherapist, and she had this colostrum as part of her inventory. And so I just started using that. And I also take a really heavy duty essential fatty acid product called Soul Seeds. What else? Turkey tail, good for cancer. Curamin, it's like 750 milligram of Curamin product. So there were a lot of things that I took. And I had a PET scan 4 months later. So in August, I was diagnosed with stage 4. And in December, I had a follow-up PET scan. And I knew I was feeling better. I also took a respiratory enzyme. It helps with the buildup in the lungs. So I was taking that one too. And that was just a symptom checker. So I was using that, and I could feel myself getting better. So when I had the follow-up PET scan in December, I thought, well, I feel better. So I know it's going to be better. I just didn't know how much better it was going to be. And my doctor called me 4 days before I had my appointment, and she said, "Oh my gosh, all of this is gone. This is gone. This is gone. This is gone, and this is gone." And I was just amazed. And 2 seconds later, after I listened to the message, my husband walks in the door, and I have this big smile on my face. And I played the recording for him, and I still have it on my phone. So she said, unbelievable. And then when I went to see her, she came in the room, and she came up to me, and she gave me a big hug, and she goes, "What are you doing?" And I told her. And do you think she sends me any referrals? No. I told her.
Nope.
I told her everything that I was doing, and she said, "I am so happy for you." And it's almost completely gone, and there was just a little pinprick of a spot left. And I've had 3 PET scans now, and they all show the same thing.
So in basically 3 months' time, right? You had this dramatic from August to December?
December.
Yeah.
August, September, October, November, December, 4 months.
4 months, dramatic reversal.
Dramatic. Yeah.
And talk about the diet. Were you on a plant-based diet at that time? Did you have any animal protein in your diet?
I did. I always have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, I'm from Wisconsin. I do eat organic though. I rarely eat meat that's not organic. Mm-hmm. I do eat a lot of plant-based, but I think have a well-rounded menu. But we do juicing a lot. So,
what juices do you like?
I love beet juice.
Yeah.
My favorite is beets, kale, lemon, apple, ginger, and carrot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
my favorite.
Pretty much what I do: carrot, apple, beet, lemon, or lime, ginger, and then garlic and turmeric if we have it too. Yeah. So
I have some in the refrigerator at the office here too. I just carry it with me, and just have it whenever I feel like it.
Yeah.
So do it and we have an organic garden. So we grow kale and carrots and celery, and we have a real kick butt garden.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like helped the most? The high dose enzyme therapy? Probably a big help.
I think that was it.
And then emotions and stress. I mean, how did you address that? Because you had just come off a really stressful year.
Yes. I did a lot of digging. There's books that I read. The first one that I read was Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life.
Yep.
And I've read all kinds of things on healing emotions, and I'm into essential oils, and we have a whole emotions kit, and I use all of them. I have diffusers going in every room of my house and in my office, and I would watch videos on healing the body, and all of the measures that I took, Chris, are on my website. Because there's a lot of things that I did that people won't even think of doing. I also bought, and I think you probably know about the Whole Tones CD.
Yes, I do. I have the Whole Tones, several of their CD sets.
Yes, so I bought the whole set, and I'd listen to that. I listen to healing music, either Whole Tones, or there's a couple of things on YouTube for healing your body, and one is on there, and it's a nurse. I forgot her name, and she recorded a video on YouTube, and I would listen to those before I go to bed at night. And then just recently, I discovered a book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and he talks about how people keep telling themselves, "Look, I have to change," and they don't know how. And he helps walk you through the meditative process of releasing emotional baggage and different things like that, because not everybody can do that on their own. And I've stumbled across a lot of really healing modalities, and I talk about all of that on my website. So I'm sure I'm forgetting something right now, but it's been
it's just such a huge part of it. Every cancer patient I've ever talked to had major stress in their life, and a lot of them have a lot of emotional baggage, right? And bitterness and unforgiveness and insecurities and guilt and regret and just a lot of stuff, right? That they have been avoiding or self-medicating, and you kind of just got to face those things head on, and deal with them.
I feel like every cancer client that I see now, I talk to them about it. And I had one lady, I have clients in like 6 states, and I had a lady in Chicago. And I said, "Are you sure there isn't anything emotional going on? Because you're eating right, you're taking the right supplements, you're doing this right, you're exercising." And she assured me there was nothing emotional going on. And that's the dilemma for people who think, I don't have anything to work on. But even the thought that she kept telling me on the phone consults, there's something I'm eating that's making me sicker. And I'm like, you just have to keep telling yourself you're doing the right things for your body. And to crack into those emotional issues is a big deal. And I just couldn't get her to look at that. And
I've talked to people with that same situation, that same mindset. And I was even there in the beginning. So when I was diagnosed, I remember, when I first maybe read something about the emotional state, emotions in cancer and baggage and bitterness and things. And I remember being like, I'm good. I don't have any, I can't think of anything. But that's because I was so used to not thinking of those things that nothing came to mind, right?
Yeah.
But then when I started really thinking about my life, thinking about my past, thinking about the people in my past who had hurt me and let me down and betrayed my trust and things like that. And when I started thinking about my thoughts, right?
Yes.
And realized how much negativity and insecurity I just had, and I was very critical and judgmental, and I was just a mess. Like I was really a mess, and I was pretty good at hiding it or whatever. But I just had a lot of just swirling negativity. Yeah. And it's kind of like an onion. Once you start peeling back the layers, you just kind of realize, like, man, this stinks. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, you're
really not okay. You're just you just look like you're okay, and you're not really okay.
Yeah. I mean, most of us know how to get through get through life, and how to be pleasant or funny or happy or whatever, or appear happy, while we're, struggling with unhappiness. And then what I found was was so freeing was forgiveness is so powerful, and catching myself thinking negatively and choosing to change my thoughts in that moment, and to think positively about a situation or about a person. Right. I think a lot of us are so quick to make a snap judgment, and I have that personality type where I'm sort of a quick judge, and so I have to catch myself making a quick judgment and be like, you know what, I don't know, like I shouldn't assume that about this person. I have no idea. I'm going to choose to think the best about them. Yeah. Instead of the worst. And it's still a challenge for me every day, not every day, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Regularly. Yeah. Working through that stuff is so important. And I just want everybody listening and watching to know I did it. Like I had to do it. It's so important. Yeah. And if you think you don't have any, I've talk to people just like you mentioned that they seem to do everything right, but they weren't getting well. Right. And usually there was some pretty significant emotional stuff that they didn't want to deal with. Yep. We even have in our office a therapy room, and we have a chi machine in there. I have a chi machine. Yeah. And I'm looking around, but it's actually downstairs. So we have a chi machine, but we also have the heart math. Are you familiar with that? I am familiar with it. They used that on me when I was at Sonaviv in 2007, and ever since I was there, it was like I want to get that program. So I finally have that, and then we have people use that program, the heart math machine, and then we have them. Describe it. The heart math. It's a program. It's a computer program, and you watch a guide, and it guides your breathing to calm your nerves. And we get a printout for everybody that does it, and you can see. They call it coherence. So there's like 3 bars on a graph, and one is your present state of mind, one is your ability to recover. And the third one is how you've recovered. And it goes from 0 to 100%. So your numbers are divided between those 3 things. Now, I know it works because they used it on me at Sonaviv before I went to surgery. That's another thing they do differently. They won't let you go to surgery if you're a mess. So they hooked me up to heart math and got me calmed down, and then I was able to go to surgery. And so I use that because by the time people come and see me, they are so stressed out to the max, and they're like, I got to get off these drugs. And I'm like, I hear ya. And, you can tell the state of a person when they come into your office, and then the minute they see you, they start to cry. And it just makes me sad because it's like you just don't know where to turn anymore, and we can help you with that. I've done it all, Yeah, cancer patients are led down this road and given all this false hope, that all of these brutal treatments are going to help them. Right. And there's so much discouragement and despair that patients have to struggle, that they deal with and are struggling with once they've been down the road, they've gotten those treatments, they've suffered through them, and now they're told they're worse. Like it was all for nothing. And I know that's, people contact me in that condition all the time, and I know that's what you're talking about right now, aren't you?
Yep. And it really is, it baffles me that, people who, especially relatives that know my story and don't do what I do. It's like,
I've had 5 family members diagnosed, 5 or 6, and none of them asked me for any advice.
No.
Not the first thing, zero questions, and but that's life, right? That's just the way it is. People are, texting me, calling me, messaging me. I mean, just begging for my help and my time. And I don't have enough time to even scratch the surface to talk to everyone who wants to talk.
Right. I believe that.
And yet, the people that are closest to me, who could have almost all my time, right?
Right.
Don't even ask for help. But, I just learned early on, and I'm sure you did too, that you focus your energy and your attention on the people that want your help.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's who I focus on. I focus on the people that want my help, and I don't worry about the people that don't. As much as it can be painful to watch someone you care about just go down this road of hopelessness.
Right.
I had a cousin that was diagnosed with colon cancer. I'm like, I'm like, hey, hello. And I reached out to him, but he wasn't interested in talking. And the doctors told him if he did treatment, he would probably live 1 to 2 years. He was stage 4. And when my mom told me the news, I said to her, I don't think he'll live 6 months if he does treatment. And he died in 3 months. 3 months. They told him 1 to 2 years. Yep. And he had surgery, was feeling really good after surgery. No surprise. But then as soon as they started him on chemo, it was a downward spiral. I mean, rapid decline. Mm-hmm. And he was just gone, so fast. Yeah. And he may have had a DPD enzyme deficiency. Do you know about that?
What kind of enzyme?
So the DPD enzyme is an enzyme in the body that 1% of cancer patients have a deficiency in this enzyme. And if they have this deficiency, they cannot detoxify fluorouracil, 5-FU.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
And it will kill them. I mean, they will get, high grade, severe toxicity from 5-FU chemo. Yep. And will go downhill very fast and usually die unless the doctors catch it, And I think that he might have had that. Huh? Yeah.
That sounds a lot like the MTHFR.
Exactly. Similar. It's a detoxification enzyme that if you don't have it, you get very high levels of chemo in your blood that, is life-threatening.
Yeah. So I've had a few friends, too, that have passed away that knew about me, contacted me, and then did nothing but the traditional. And that hurts. And the difference between like you and I and them, Chris, I mean, we take the ball and we run with it, right? I mean, you hear something that's good for you and you do it.
Yeah, right. That was my attitude. Absolutely. It's like, this might help, I'll take it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what's really frustrating is you've done it before, you know what to do, and at least, I mean, if someone told me that, I would listen. And I did listen, I mean, it's like you have an answer. It's like the person who says, God, why don't you answer my prayers? And you're sitting on the roof of a building and there's a flood and he sends a boat and an airplane and you're like, no, I'm waiting for God to help me. I'm waiting for God to help me. So he turns them down and all of a sudden the water rises and you're dead. And it's like, well, I sent you a boat. I sent you a plane. You just didn't listen,
Yeah,
and
I know it's a great lesson because a lot of us, it's I think human nature to sometimes put God in a box, right, and expect Him to heal us in one way, right? And in the cancer world, it's like God's going to heal me through chemo, right? It's like patients are putting them in a box and they're praying like heal me, deliver me, whatever, through this treatment. Yes. Only, instead of stepping back and saying, okay, what do I need to do? Right. Like, what do I need to change? What do I need to do? God, I'm listening. I'm like, I'm going to wait for direction, for instruction. Like, I'm not going to rush into something that everyone's telling me I have to do just because they think I have to do it. Especially when you're stage 4. I mean, if you're terminal, at least your doctors were honest and said this won't cure you. A lot of patients, there have been multiple study surveys published where patients had no idea the chemo treatment they were getting wasn't even curative.
Mm-hmm.
You know, patients don't know what stage they are. And even when they know they're stage 4, they don't realize they're just getting palliative chemo and that there's no chance it can cure them. The doctor knows, but he didn't tell them because,
Right.
you know, and they even survey the doctors, say, well, you know, you have all these, in this one particular study I'm thinking of, right, they had these results where almost 3/4 of late-stage cancer patients didn't know they were getting palliative chemo. They thought it was curative, and the doctor's excuse was, it's hard to tell patients you can't cure them. Yeah, they were just avoiding an awkward conversation, and it's pretty egregious, really, malpractice, in my opinion.
That reminds me, when I was at Sonovive in 2007, I didn't know, Chris, that I was never going to have to do the chemo and radiation. But when I came home, I don't know if I mentioned, I came home and I had gotten the results of my tumor marker studies, and they were normal. And this was 3 weeks after my treatment. Now, I did have surgery, you know, and it wasn't stage 4, it was stage 2. But
how big was the lump?
2 centimeters. So it was not teeny.
Yeah.
You know, and it was in the sentinel node back then. So they took 12 lymph nodes on the right side. So I did have that done. And so I already know that I'm lymphatically challenged. So, you know, I use the enzyme for that. So, but when I was at Sonovive, they offer, it's chemosensitivity testing.
Right.
And I'm like, well, why don't they offer that to every cancer client? You would know which chemo was actually effective on your tumor.
Yeah,
and
it's called the RGCC Onconomics Plus test.
Yeah.
I talk about it often. It's also referred to as the grease test. Yeah. And if anybody doesn't know what that is, they take your blood and they test it against a long list of chemo drugs and natural compounds like vitamin C and glutathione and Laetrile and resveratrol. You know,
I am taking Laetrile too.
and they give you a report, and it just shows like, oh wow, okay, so this chemo works against my cancer, or it doesn't, and like, oh, these natural compounds seem to be pretty potent against my type of cancer, and you know, it's not a foolproof test, but I think it could give people a great starting point, and it just seems like it should be a part of oncology, you know, standard of care. But do you know about the MammaPrint test? MammaPrint is a fairly new genetics test that is, they did a phase 3 FDA clinical trial called MIND-ACT, where they used this test on breast cancer patients. And the test accurately predicted whether or not an early stage breast cancer patient would need chemotherapy. And using this test, MammaPrint, they reduced the number of chemo prescriptions by 40%.
Wow.
Yeah, so almost half of the patients in this trial who would have been prescribed chemo were not prescribed chemo because of their genetic test came back as low risk. And after many years of follow-up, they realized, the test was accurate. There wasn't a recurrence. And so now it's really revolutionizing even conventional care, which I think is a good thing. If, like 40% of breast cancer patients not getting chemo, which was unnecessary for them anyway. So anybody watching or listening, if you have breast cancer, MammaPrint. Okay,
great. We will definitely look that one up.
Yep.
But by the time my clients get to me, they just don't want chemo anymore. And sometimes they wait too long.
Yes, I understand.
And sometimes they don't want to quit, even on the enzymes. And enzymes don't work as well when they're fighting against chemo. So, but you know what? You got to work.
It's kind of like putting gasoline and water on a fire at the same time.
Right.
You
Right.
know, the water's putting it out, the gasoline is fueling it, and you're like, I can't get anywhere. You know, it's yeah,
Yeah. But you have to meet your clients where they're at, and
yep,
if I'm like, well, I don't want to take your money if you're going to keep doing that, but
yeah.
whatever.
I mean, there's always a benefit to nutrition, right? There's always a benefit. The
Always.
greatest
Always.
benefit to nutrition and hardcore natural therapies, non-toxic therapies, the greatest benefit is when you haven't done any conventional treatment, right? That's the greatest benefit because your body is still in really good shape. Even if you have
Right.
some tumors,
Right.
your body is still in good shape. But,
Right.
conventional therapies are so brutal and destructive and cause so
Right.
much collateral damage head to toe that,
Right.
as you know, when patients come to you and they've been through every therapy known to man, right?
Right.
And their bodies are just really beat down. And
Right.
it's tough. Now, not to discourage anyone, because I've seen people get well after all those treatments failed.
Mm-hmm.
So it happens. The body can heal.
Mm-hmm.
But it is tougher when you've been down that road and you're just in such a weakened, depleted, vulnerable state physically
Mm-hmm.
to heal. Because there's so much that needs to heal. It's not just the cancer now. It's like all
Right.
your cells and tissues have been damaged.
Right. Yeah. And we see that a lot. And we just do the best we can.
Yep.
And thankfully, by the time they get to me, we don't have a problem. And we don't ever tell people you can't do this. We don't ever. I'm like, you know what? That's your deal. If
Yeah.
you want to quit doing your chemo, then quit doing it. But I'm not going to tell you to stop anything because I can't take that upon
Sure.
myself.
Of course not.
So, but they know how I feel about it. And, but I don't pound bumps on their head. I'm like, you know what? We'll just work. We'll do it. We'll do whatever we can.
Yeah.
And that's how we look at it. And if we get another year, sometimes by the time they get to me, they can't even eat, and we can kind of help them with that. We have an enzyme that actually nourishes the stomach and the digestive tract, and it makes you feel better. And we almost always have to use that first, just to get them to a point where they can actually have an appetite and eat some food. Because if you can't eat, you can't heal.
Right.
So I'm like, some people can't even tolerate the juice.
I know.
And we have to at least get them to that point where they can make some nourishment for their cells and help their bodies to heal. So, yeah, we've got our work cut out for us.
It's a challenge. Well, and that's the thing. I'm trying to reach as many people as I can before they're diagnosed or right in the beginning, in the early stages of cancer. And of course, the late stages, I want to reach them too. But it is so much easier to heal before you've been through every brutal treatment that they want, that they can sell you. And reaching people before they get cancer at all, so they can make these changes to their life that are so important and not let stress and bitterness and emotional baggage take over their life and ruin their health.
That could have been one of my saving graces, not having had chemo and radiation in 2007. I didn't have any of the damaging treatments. So naturally, I had an advantage, and thankfully so. But I also knew that I needed to work on my head, and some people are just stubborn and like, I'm fine. And, it's, you got to look at the whole picture. You got to look at everything and take care of all the baggage and, eat healthy, get exercise. And I need to improve on that a little bit.
Exercise is powerful. It
Yeah.
increases survival. It switches
Yeah.
on anti-cancer genes in the body, switches off cancer-promoting genes. It's so underrated and undervalued.
Yeah.
And it is
Both
so incredible for you.
All my kids do CrossFit.
Yeah, CrossFit can. I've been doing CrossFit for years, and
Oh yeah.
it's a little intense. I don't
Yeah.
recommend it for cancer patients. I think it's a little bit too much too soon.
Yeah.
But aerobic, I mean, brisk walking is
Hmm.
phenomenal. 30 minutes of brisk walking a day is just absolutely great. Anything aerobic, anything that gets your heart pumping and gets you a little sweaty,
Yeah.
right? Get you deep
Yeah.
breathing, get some fresh air and sunshine.
Yeah.
Try to get your bare feet on the ground.
Yep.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
this
a
has been
lot
really
of that.
fun, Susan.
Yeah. And, we just have to keep offering hope to
Yeah.
people
Yep.
because they don't get it anywhere else, So that's
Well,
one
the
of
hope
the,
they're getting is false hope. That's the
right.
problem. They're
Yeah,
getting false hope. A lot of times they're getting false hope from the conventional cancer treatment world. And that hope is that the therapies that aren't curing most people might cure them,
hmm
right? That maybe they'll be one of the lucky ones.
right.
And, you know, luck is not a factor.
Right.
It just isn't,
No, nope, it's
Hope
not.
is not a strategy and luck is not a factor.
Right.
And I mean, obviously, hope is important, but it needs to be, in my opinion, the hope of getting well, of healing and recovery, like that belief system has to be in line with reality,
hmm
right? It has to
hmm
be in line with reality, or else your subconscious knows it's false,
hmm
you know?
hmm
And the idea that the body can heal is a real idea.
hmm
The body created it, the body can heal it.
Right.
And the idea that there are multiple factors in our world that are causing cancer and that we
hmm
need to address and eliminate to
Right.
help our bodies heal
Right.
is a real truism. It's a real idea. And
Right.
so when you align your therapy with those sort of basic fundamental truths that you've got to get in harmony with nature, you've got to remove everything in your life
hmm
that's hurting you, that's poisoning you, polluting you, holding you back, keeping you
Right.
sick, like go on this investigative adventure, right? Go on this life-changing
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah.
When you have that mentality and that mindset, then the hope that wells up in your soul is powerful. I
hmm
mean, it's not this sort of worried, fearful hope that you see a lot in the
Right.
conventional treatment world. I heard a cancer patient say one time, and I'll never forget it. And I repeat this often, but this patient said, "I'm not going to let cancer change me."
hmm
And I thought, that is the worst possible attitude you can
hmm
have when you're diagnosed.
Yep.
Cancer has to change you. It's got to
Yep.
change everything.
Yep.
If you're not
You
going to
know.
let cancer change you, then you're basically saying, I did not do anything wrong, and I'm powerless, and I
Right.
don't need to change my life because nothing I do matters,
Right.
right?
Cancer has taught me a lot. And I think that's what, I would never wish cancer upon anyone, but if it weren't for cancer, there would be so much more that I don't know right now. And it's really given me an opportunity. And that sounds really weird to say, you
Not to
know,
me. I understand it.
cancer has given me such an opportunity to learn. And I have learned so much this last time. And it was kind of funny. My daughter-in-law, I told her that. I said, it's taught me a lot this time. And she goes, well, would you just learn faster? I'm like, I'm trying.
Sometimes you have to learn the hard way.
Yes.
I agree. Cancer was not a blessing, but
Yeah.
my life has been blessed because
Yes.
of it.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm stronger, wiser, better
Yes.
because of what I went through. And it's
Yep.
just a joy to be able to share what I've learned, to share my mistakes, to share my successes, with the world and with people, and feel like I'm being helpful and encouraging and inspiring and equipping people with information that they can use to heal.
hmm
Right?
Exactly. I agree with you 100%.
That's
Yep.
what we're trying to do.
Yep.
Well, Susan, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
your time. I know you're a busy woman, and I will put links, everybody, to the resources that Suzan mentioned, to her website, to the book she mentioned, and other things in the show notes. So if you're listening on the podcast or you're watching on YouTube, just click the link to go to the show notes, and you can contact Suzan if you'd like, and check out the resources and books and all that kind of stuff we talked about in this interview. So I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Yep.
Thanks again, Suzan.
You're welcome,
I'm so
Chris.
proud of you. I'm so excited. I mean, your story's so incredible. I mean, and it's, I never cease to get excited when I hear someone having such a dramatic turnaround in such a short time. And I say this all the time, and, eventually I think people will start to believe me. But your body you can really transform your body in, roughly 3 months. Yours was 4 months.
Yes.
But that's such a short amount of time when you make a hardcore radical life change.
Right.
I mean, just really incredible things can happen in the body very fast.
Yep.
And gosh, if that doesn't inspire hope, I don't know what does.
I know. So I just want to thank you too, Chris, for the opportunity to share my story. And, thanks for doing what you're doing. You're helping a lot of people too. And, we got to stick together. So
sticking together.
Yes. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.